Alright, Happy New Year. Hey, one of my subscribers was looking at buying one of these Framptone 3-bangers and asked me about it. I guess they don't make them anymore, but they sell them on reverb.com. I saw one on there yesterday. It was $240. I think I paid $330 or $40 for these things. So for this one. And it dawned on me that since I bought it, I've never unplugged it. I mean, I just love it. And it turns out that Brad Whitford with Aerosmith uses one, and I posted a link to the video in the description below, so always read the description because I put a lot of stuff in there. And I also put a couple of more links to some explanation of buffers and buffers that you can buy. I don't know anything about the quality of the buffers in the links, but might be worth looking into just as an experiment. But when they started asking about it, I said, well, it does buffer the signal coming out of the box, the amp switcher, to the amp, so you can run long cables. And you know, Brad, if you see the video with Aerosmith, you know their rig, he's way out front, and he must have 30 or 40 foot long, maybe longer cable runs. So he says it is a very nice piece of equipment, very high quality in the video. But I'd never really known much about the buffers in this thing, so I suspect that it has really high quality buffer in it. I don't know if it's one buffer, two buffers, or if they have three for each, one for each channel. Either way, I thought I would experiment since I've never not gone through it since I bought it, which is probably 9 years ago. I did a quick little experiment, and what I did was, this is all my effects. You can see I don't have a lot. I've got the vibe, the fuzz, the wah-wah, OCD, tuner, echo, or carbon copy, going straight into the amp switcher. And so these cable runs over here are pretty short. You know, I made all these pretty short little cables, so all cable has capacitance in it, and you lose signal, you lose your high frequencies. When you have a lot of cheap cable, it's worse. So you always want to use, or don't always have to, but most people nowadays use high quality cables. But these are pretty short, so altogether this might add up to 3 feet at the most of cable. But going from here, and I mean I'm in a small room, I don't really need to do this, but I have long cables, so for big stages. This cable here, and these are all George L cables, so they're all high quality, low capacitance. This cable here, this is the one I'm in, the channel I'm going to experiment with. I measured this one. It goes all the way back here and plugs into my reverb unit right here. And that one is 13 feet long. I measured it. I just measured it. And then going out is another newer George L with the black retainer here, whatever you call it, strain relief. And it's a 20-foot cable, and it goes all the way back over here and plugs into the basement amp right here. You can see the same strain relief. So that's 33 feet of cable just in this little room that I'm playing through to go to the amp. And the same for the other one. You can see I think I have the exact same cables going into this reverb for right now the Bandmaster right there. So I did a little experiment, and I'll show you in just a second. Hopefully you can hear it, but you can definitely hear it in this room. As I played it like I've always had it hooked up for the last 8 or 9 years. And then what I did was just unplug the input here, and I'll just take this out and plug it straight in here. Try to get this set up so I can do it easily. You'll probably hear a lot of amp noise because I'm not going to go turn the amp off. But that's it. We're going to experiment. Now the links that I put in the description will explain somewhat of the importance of having buffers. And the way I first learned about buffers was when I had a wah-wah and I tried to hook my fuzz up to it. It didn't work. So I had to play around and found out that I always had to put the fuzz before the wah-wah or it just wouldn't sound. The wah-wah wouldn't sound right. So I was going, well, what's up with that? And then I started asking some of my more knowledgeable friends, and they said, well, you probably need a buffer. Well, that's the first time I'd ever heard of the word buffer. Turns out, I think almost all Boss effects, which you'll see in those videos, have buffers built in. So you can learn a little bit more. If you have a Boss effect, you can experiment without having to go buy a dedicated buffer. But I think it was just dumb luck for me to end up with this high quality amp switcher that had a high quality buffer in it. I didn't even realize how much difference it made. And it does make a lot of difference. You'll hear it, hopefully, when I do it. I'm going to do it right now. I'll play clean and with the fuzz and the OCD. Let's see, I gotta take the amp off standby. There we go. Get everything in my way so it's hard to move my feet. Holy crap! I have my guitar turned up too loud. So, this is with the buffer, which takes all the signal from my effects and changes it from high impedance to low impedance. And don't ask me how that works, but that's what the secret is there. Alright, my guitar volume's on about 4. Turn it up to about 6 here. Alright, now let's do the unplugging here. Shit! Excuse me. Oh my goodness, that was loud. Okay, here's the same thing. Guitar volume on 6. Let me put it back up to, on 4. That was on 4, now it's on 6. I don't know if I can take this noise again. You can hear it's muffled sounding. Damn it. Oh crap. Try this. This is true experimentation here at its worst. There we go. I'm back down on 4. That's it. Just trust me. If you don't have a buffer, if you don't know where they are, you're probably going to need to experiment. Because they make a big difference, and I think it's real key, especially with long cable runs, to having a good tone and not losing tone. And old effects are big tone suckers, they call them, and I found that out the hard way when I bought an original Ibanez tube screamer that wasn't true bypass, and it sucked so much tone out of my guitar when it was off that I was shocked when I took it out of my effects chain. But you really do have to experiment. What they say a lot of times is have one at the beginning of your chain and at the end. Most of the time they're saying at the beginning and maybe at the end. I think at the end it might be better. But because if you put it at the beginning, then you're going to start messing with your fuzz and your wah-wah. And so you really have to experiment. If anything, I'd probably put it in between the wah-wah and the OCD if I had a little separate buffer. But I hope you guys have a great 2018. Talk to you later.